1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing.
Yo ma, and welcome to the PAC Show, proudly brought to you by PAC Athletic Club and DoubleTake Sports, the show that brings you all the highlights, the lowlights, the reviews, the previews, the news, and the interviews from rugby here in Australia and around the world. My name's Jay Bourne. Joining me tonight, as per usual, we have Dos and we have Dallin. But tonight, still no big fat Das, but we do have the kill switch himself, Ryan Fellini, joined by none other than Will Chambers. Yeah,
Willie.
Thanks for joining us, Will. How you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad, lads.
You pumped?
A bit nervous.
Yeah, you should be. No, you're right. No, mate, we aren't very professional here, man, so you can do whatever you want, man.
He's probably not as nervous as Freeney, though, when the question time comes up.
Why?
Because you suck at it.
You always shit the bed.
Oh, yeah. Who we got on?
Chambers.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You're fine, mate. I got to keep it calm for him. He's nervous.
Sweet.
Yeah, you're
He's
off
got
to
to
a
comment
good
how
start.
uncomfortable the seat is. I'm like, mate, every week I've been
Batless bench.
Yeah, that's what it's for, man. It is the Battlers bench for a reason. But we've got a huge night lined up this evening. We've obviously got Chambers is joining us, but we've got the wrap up from the Shoot Shield Grand Final. Sydney Uni coming away with the dub there. Dos, you pumped about that one. We saw some huge results in the Hospital Cup as well. Up the doggies, hence the coarse voice from me. There was a few things went down with the Wallabies. We won't delve too much into that, but there's a few other things we want to delve into as well. But first off the bat, let's just get straight into it, shall we? Dow, we saw on the weekend, Sydney Uni, their 33rd Shoot Shield Championship. Getting up, it was a late try to, who was it? Mitch Ryan, the reserve prop that jagged the win. Gordon were bloody good considering.
They were very good. It was, 19 all, basically up until last,
76 minutes.
Yeah,
or so.
5 minutes. I still think it was probably their best game of the year for Sydney Uni from an attack perspective.
Yep.
They haven't scored a lot of points this year, but, Gordon, as they've done all year, they just kept coming and coming and coming. Mahe Vailanu was exceptional, but I think they just dug deep. I think Patrick O'Doherty, was he the reserve hooker who came on? He just lost the reserve grade grand final, comes on and absolutely has a barnstormer at two, there as well. They were just sensational.
Yeah, Hancock picking up that big try there, but it was the Uni big men were awesome. They were just so strong, but I can't get over Gordon. Dos, we were talking about it. They were playing literal knockout footy for the better part of 2 months, and it came down to the final 4 minutes. They would be looking at this season as, granted they didn't come away with the championship, but they will be hanging their heads high.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they were the form team coming in. They won, 8 or 9 on the trot?
On the trot, yeah.
Leading into the grand final. So, I mean, there's an argument there. They probably just ran out of a bit of steam, having a grand final every week for the last 8 weeks.
Coming in from 7th on the ladder too.
Yeah, but I think, in a grand final, class really comes out, and a team like Sydney Uni, who have probably struggled this year more than others in recent times, in terms of being that consistent, dominant team throughout the whole year. And then
how's this for not blowing that penalty there? That was an absolute. Oh, that was a penalty every day of the week.
That's very. That was 100% a penalty.
100% a penalty, and you would have thought Gordon would have been able to put that in the corner and really put some pressure on. But credit to Sydney Uni. I mean, as I said, 33rd Shoot Shield. I know I was about to say we like to. I know I like to hang a bit of shit on them, but, I mean, you can't go past just the histry they've got. They're huge.
Do they play? I didn't really watch them too much this year, but do they have a similar sort of style of play of the Uni up here? Are they quite a fast, sort of skillful team?
Their forward pack is a lot more dominant than UQ.
Yep.
Their forward pack is incredibly aggressive and well drilled. So well drilled. So, I mean, credit to them. A hell of a season in Shoot Shield. I mean, all sides were pretty much vying for finals up until the final month or so. So it was absolutely massive. We were actually trying to get Jack McCalman on the blower. I gave him a call and sent him a text message. Got nothing.
Yeah. I've actually been totally sold on Shoot Shield by the end of this year.
Hey!
And then especially the Mad Monday, few of the snaps coming through from our mate Dave Vad at Randwick. They did
Wicks.
Yeah, they did the Moses theme, and everyone was dressing up as animals. He was Moses, and they had a boat picking people up from different. Mate, it was the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I saw that on the socials where it just flicks to him and he's got the grey hair.
Yeah.
Looks good, man.
Oh,
Looks
so
good.
good.
All right, let's get straight into the pro arena then. The Wallabies got absolutely pumped by the Box on the weekend. Doss, you're shaking the head there, mate. What are your thoughts on this? Springboks 24, Wallabies 8.
Oh, man, just disappointing, hey. Like, the Wallabies' inconsistency is the most frustrating thing for me. They're a team the week before. It's like, they've turned the corner. They pick a unchanged lineup. And then for the same guys to go out and deliver a performance like that, I'm not too sure what you put it down to, but yeah, man, disappointing. I mean, the Springboks did play a hell of a lot better.
They were
wanted blood.
ferocious.
They wanted blood.
Yeah.
mate.
They were ferocious, mate. Eben Etzebeth, when he was going toe-to-toe with Alan Alatoa, he looked like a lunatic.
It's pretty scary, hey, even from the
Mate,
living room.
I would have shit myself,
Mate,
man. I would have
you
been
see
lucky to have
Alan-
bones if half
Alan
of that
was
one, mate.
holding, like he was restraining
He was
himself
ready to
very
cock
well.
one back and drill him, eh?
Stronger man than I would have been, but bloody hell, that was awesome.
Doesn't help losing Noah and Hunter early on and Nella pinging his calf in the warm-up. But Dow, we were massively outclassed.
Yeah, I think it wasn't, it was expected for those guys to come back and play like they played. I think players like Willie LaRue make a real difference to the squad. And I don't understand why he's not picked every week, but I don't know. We talk about the inconsistencies. There's some key moments in that game where I think Australia just shows poor options.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They put themselves under pressure. When you do that at an international level, it hurts you. And there was a key moment where we did that, and then they scored, and it just changed the trajectory of the game. So it's hard to watch, but I think if we look across the ditch, we're experiencing similar things across there. And I think it's a credit to the rest of the world.
Correct.
And how far they've come in regards to international footy.
And I want to get your thoughts on this, Will, because obviously you, in your rugby league career, I was talking to Zach beforehand with the Melbourne Storm. They've won their first round of the season for the last 21 years consecutively. They are a team that is always ready to go and have this cohesion. And Doss just alluded to it then in regards to the inconsistency. 3 times this year against England, Argentina, and now who we play on the weekend? Springboks. We've had a good win and then a bad loss. In regards to consistency, what is it that makes it so difficult sometimes to have such consistency? But for other teams, as we were saying, just like the Melbourne Storm, the consistency is just bred into them.
I think with that, we at Melbourne, it was all about, that's what you trained the whole preseason for, was round 1. And no matter how hard it was, we always knew we'd be right for round 1. You look at the Wallabies now and you think, well, we've got a tournament in 12 months' time, like the biggest tournament of all of their lives. You have one bad slip-up, you make it like a hell of a lot harder for yourself. And those, I guess, we'd win. As soon as we'd won a game, the moment you take your jersey off, you're on to the next week and preparing the best you can for the next week. And in the NRL, you got to do it for 24 rounds or whatever. You throw a few origins in there, and it's about doing things consistently well each week. You'll get the same outcome. If you don't, your best performance is here, your worst performance is going to be there. There's no big gap. And that's what you're seeing in the Wallabies at the moment. You're seeing a lot of young kids with their consistency levels all over the place. It'd be interesting to see what their preparation is when they've been flogged to what their preparation is when they win. Do you know what I mean? And that's the big thing. That's the most important thing. And I know, when I was younger and I come through at Melbourne, that was the biggest thing that Craig drilled into the young kids was, if you prepare well every week, your performance will take care of itself. But so long as you're preparing well. And that, for me, and that's why I probably left the game when I did, was because it takes a toll on your family life then. I'm preparing for 3 or 4 days for a game of footy for 80 minutes, but my wife, my kids had to sacrifice for me. And that's where I sort of went, in the end, I went, oh, well, I've got to move away and move on to the next stage of my life.
Yeah.
But that's the big thing with it. And I always say it's preparation. If your preparation is perfect, everything else will take care of itself. And it's something that, you have a look at someone like Marika. Marika has been in a system like that, and funny enough, his footy's pretty consistent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's been through a system where he's played 24 rounds, where it's so important that your preparation is well every week, and it's always the same. And I just think that's the key thing is your preparation. I know that Dave Rennie would be doing it with them.
Yeah.
You look at the All Blacks across the ditch; they're going through a phase where they're getting young people back into that squad now that aren't used to the expectation and pressure of it all. And their preparation's probably just slipping up a bit, and they're getting those same sort of performances.
And it is a different arena, though, because as you were saying, you know, the Melbourne Storm, you play 24 rounds, then finals, right? You're all together for the better part, pretty much the entire 12 months, bar a little bit of time off during the end of the season and the start of the pre-season, whereas, like, Super Rugby is what? Anywhere from, say, 13 to 15, 16 games with your club, and then Wallabies is the same. So you're almost in two different environments coming together, and then you're sort of expediting a process of trying to get cohesion when Super Rugby finishes straight into a Wallaby camp 2 weeks out from playing the Springboks and then the All Blacks and the RGs, who all play different brands of footy, and you're also not maybe singing from the same song sheet as everyone in your team.
But you have a look at the Crusaders, for example. They start every season slow because their All Blacks boys come back later. But once they all get into that same rhythm and same pattern, their performances become pretty consistent. And that's the big thing. Like, I know the Wallabies are in camp and they're sort of changing sides here and there, but if they could sort of keep that consistent team together, well, they could be anything. Do you know what I mean? You've seen last week what they can do. It's just a matter of them being able to prepare the way they did last week. They'll get the same performance.
Oh, man. Hope so. Because, man, that game on Saturday really chafed my butt.
There's a couple of little things too, just like set piece and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I don't want to be too hard on them or anything like that, but like just little things like missing line-out throws and stuff like that. Like if that's your job, you know what I mean? Like the set piece is so crucial. I mean, there's going to be mistakes here and there, but there was a fair few. You know what I mean? Like it's, I don't know, just that sort of level you can't really afford to miss those little opportunities. Hey, like it makes such a big difference and puts so much more pressure on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Do you think they'll lose? Do you think they're missing Michael Hooper's leadership? Like in the key moments, in the big moments, do you think they're missing his leadership in and around the ruck, in and around talking to
he's
referees?
everywhere. Hey,
exactly. Like that's another key thing, and I know it's only a little thing, but leadership in big games and in vital moments are the most important things. And like he was a guy that would say, "Come on, guys, follow me and take the game by the scruff of the neck."
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I just think that's another thing. Like, there's so many little things that once they get it right, they could be anything. The Australian side.
And do you not think that maybe Dave Rooney would have loved to have had James O'Connor on the bench on the weekend just gone?
Yeah.
I reckon. How good was he on the weekend? He absolutely chopped up.
For brothers.
My opinion. Yeah.
For brothers, not Wallabies, man.
Yeah, I know.
Man. But that's it,
I know
right?
that, but still.
So, yeah.
Put him on next week.
At
mate.
least he's going back and kicking ass.
Yeah, exactly right. He's not coming back, and mate, he was insane. He was everywhere.
He was.
I just saw him like running each side of the ruck. I'm like,
oh, mate, couple of try savers in the back pocket too, mate. Freddie Burke, man, poor bastard. 2 times, nearly scored a match winner. He was awesome, and then twice. That one looked like he was running in fucking quicksand, eh? All right, the All Blacks. Mate, they absolutely dismantled the Archies. They smashed it from pillar to post, left, right, and centre. 53 points to 3 frees. What do you make of this one, mate?
I don't know. I copped a lot of flack. I copped a lot of flack in the old DMs. Like, Johnny, quick, seriously, get on the memes, mate. We're going to be fucking... Anyway, no, I deserved it. Mate, yeah, just if they lost that game, it would have been a civil war, 100%. It would have been a civil war, and yeah, bloody New Zealand rugby union would have been burnt to the ground.
It would have been 4 on the trot in New Zealand, I think.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I liked. Obviously, Dane Cole's got under Matero's skin, and because Matero refused to shake his hand at the end. It was so. Anyway.
No, but it's funny one though, Dow, because like so much of the pressure has been on players like Sam Cane, Rico Ioane, stuff like that. And
how good was he?
They were 2 of the best on the weekend. So it's testament to the class of the All Blacks that they can do what they've shown. But I don't know, like this was the exact game they needed.
Yeah, massively. I think they all stepped up. I think we all know what they can do, but from a mental perspective, they looked exactly the same as the Springboks. Do you know what I mean? Like they were ready to tear them apart, and they came out and they just did it. So.
Their game plan was a hell of a lot better too. It was more aerial base, field position, and then capitalise. I think 3 handling errors for the entire game.
It's massive.
That's ridiculous, eh? And it was raining. In Hamilton.
Yeah.
3 handling
freezing
errors.
cold. 3 handling errors.
Yeah. I mean, they looked like they were back to
mission.
the All Blacks of the old.
Mission.
I loved Aaron Smith and Richie Mwanga. I think, look, and Bowden Barrett's, he's class, man, but I don't know. I think
Richie's
the All Blacks with Richie
different.
at 10, they seem like a different proposition. I think his decision making in different parts of the game really helped them on the weekend. And, mate, from the very first whistle, they just came out with a team with, they knew what they had to do. They came out real intent. And, unfortunately, the Argentinians were on the other side of that.
Yeah, they got pizzumped. Absolutely smoked. Now, in regards to we saw last week, Dal, I know you've probably got a bit more knowledge in regards to this as well, but the Challenger Series being played later on this season, can you fill us in as to the particulars of it?
Yeah, so basically they're picking a red squad, so anyone who's left not in Wallabies or Australia A commitments, whoever's left, and then they'll bring a few into that squad. And then in the Premier side, it's anyone who's uncontracted. It's almost like they did a couple of years ago with the Ballymore kid, right? They're trying to find and unearth a bit of talent that they've got a few spots left on their roster. Might not necessarily, fill those, but, they're looking for people to go away on tour with them. And so that's what they're looking at.
To play the Wild Knights.
The Wild Knights in Japan on tour. But I think it's just another way that they're trying to play that second level or that level up from, Queensland Premier Rugby. Obviously, you've got Australia A, but it's got to be that, intermediary in between.
Love that they're going on tour too.
Oh, it's massive. And that'll be consistent over the next couple of years.
Good stuff.
You know what I mean? They're going to do that more and more and more, and that's the way I think Queensland Rugby is going to try and, fill that space, which I think it's great because you're going to get a lot of Premier Rugby guys and Academy guys getting opportunities to tour, which I think, some of them might even become capped, which I think is pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
Well, go on.
Mate, it's brilliant. I remember 2008, we went on a Reds development tour to Ireland in France. We played Munster, Connacht, who's the other? Leinster, and then Ulster. Those four, and then went to play Nice in the south of France.
Tough gig.
Yeah,
Development tour.
but it was the same, and there were guys like Jimmy Harvey, Ben Gollings,
James Harvey, mate, he was so good back in the
He was good.
and he was unreal back in the day. A couple of guys in the forwards who I don't know. Sean Simonek, the Sunshine
Simonek.
Coast guy. So it was sort of similar. And I remember after that, like there was just so much chat about how successful it was and how much of a good time everyone had, and and then that flowed into the following few seasons. A couple of guys got exposure to professional rugby. I mean, mate, the Leinster team we played was Brian O'Driscoll, Johnny Sexton, Issa Nathiwa. It was their top flight team, and just getting that experience for a young group like we had,
So cool.
man, it's going to be great. So the guys who play in that Premier team, hopefully good enough to get picked in this Reds team, it's going to be an unreal experience, and I'm looking forward to it being an annual thing.
Bloody oath. I think the more time, it bridges that gap, and it gives the opportunity for players that do come out of Super Rugby to have some shared experience with some Reds players before they sort of just get parachuted in, if heaven forbid, like what happened with Matty Fessler, a few injuries here and there, and he's plucked from club rugby to playing for the Reds. And luckily he obviously had played a lot of footy with guys like Harry Hoopert and Ryan Smith and Harry Wilson, so he sort of had that connection already, but it just helps that transition. Now, we actually went through the effort of picking what we think is, I guess, the PAC QPR team that could take on the Reds, and we picked it almost on who we think is not only got the potential to go on to higher honours, but also a team that could actually beat the Queensland Reds later this season. So, Dow, run through it for us, mate.
Obviously, got
I just can't see it.
Imosi Takiri at 1. He's been immense this year for GPS, obviously coming at the back of a Melbourne Rebels program. Ethan Dobbins, he's been sensational. He started on the weekend, and I believe, outclassed Jordan Ulisi, you know what I mean?
100%.
They have to start him in the grand final.
100%.
Reece Sheriff, just fell on the doorstep of Bond University and by far has been the standout tight head in the competition.
And he's just got a good props rig.
And he just loves it,
Bit
right?
mud, big seat.
Just scaps on.
Yeah. Just thicker than a bowl of oatmeal and just loves getting stuck in.
Angelo Smith, I don't know, you'd be able to tell me more, but I don't know how long he's been out west, but he's been the find of the year for me.
Chips Blanche just says he's been phenomenal. LV came in and as he's wont to do, has a few hard words and was more about not necessarily like ragging on him, but more about like tough conversations about like these are the things you need to do in your game. We can get there if you listen to it. And he's done it, and now he's been he's in a team with guys like Keenan Tawakapulu, Lepeti Faifua, sort of nipping at his heels, and he's been the standout second rower.
Yeah, absolutely. Massively. He scored 2 tries on the weekend in a major semi-final.
Yeah.
Huge. Zach Shepherd, big inclusion there from East, obviously coming back from Sydney Ramwick last year. He's just a workhorse, just get through a mountain of work. The back row, I think probably close to, the 3 best players in the competition this year.
Yep.
Pritchard at 7, immense over the ball. Somehow he still hasn't played in a higher honours. It's crazy to me.
That
He's
is...
tapped for Zim. Do you reckon that
Yes.
He is in the sevens.
in
was
the
that
sevens.
sort of hinder it a bit?
Oh, it doesn't really matter.
No,
these
it was
days,
years
does
ago.
Yeah.
If there's any player in QPR at the moment that is up
got a good frame
to
to
Super
weight.
Rugby standard, it is Connor Pritchard, mate. He's tougher than a $2 steak and gets his ass handed to him every week, but just keeps coming back for more, eh?
Yeah.
Love him to
100%.
death, man. And Pat Murray.
Pat Murray, I feel like he's been the player of the season. Do you know what I mean? Led from the front. The last couple of weeks, he's just been sensational for UQ. He's part of the reason why they've been so successful. So, captain there. Connor Anderson at 6. Again, he's just been immense for Wes. He's played 6, 7, 8. He's been everywhere. You know what I mean? Just an absolute workhorse, but physically very dominant. In the halves, Mosiah Christian, Taylor Adams, both from brothers. Mosiah Christian's probably got the most highlights throughout the whole year.
He's not your first choice 9, though, is he, Dale?
No, not my first choice 9.
This guy.
Controversy.
Taylor Adams, a big reason why brothers are where they are. Obviously, he's been pretty consistent, even pre Super Rugby players coming back. A large part of why they've been so successful. Hine and Oates.
I love Sam Hine, man. Just a thick, fast honky.
Mate,
He
but
is.
how good, how safe was he on the weekend?
Yeah, massively.
He was
He's the
so
reason
good.
why Bond University's season finished. Like single-handedly,
Yeah.
he turned that game around for
Yeah.
brothers. And Kai Oates, Mr. Consistent, he's been the team of the week almost, in every week, and scores tries for fun, leads line breaks this year, leads tackle busts, leads tries, sensational. James and Campbell, it's probably interchangeable there, whether one's at 12, one's at 13.
What about the
Fellow Lenny,
Oh,
I've gone
that's a
for
close one.
Yeah, it is, but I've gone
close
for
one.
consistency. Paddy James is a mainstay.
Yeah,
Tyler
he's
Campbell is. You could play him anywhere in that back line and it'd excel. And then Jet Shoes at the back, Joey Fiddick. He's another reason why I think Bond are so electric with their attack.
And he's an additional ball player, you'd
Correct.
say, as well. All right, that's a pretty goddamn good 15, if you ask me. It's a side that could give it a shake. Who do you reckon would be unlucky to miss that side?
Josh
there,
Collins.
Freeze? I knew you.
Josh Collins. No, but I just think, mate, every time I got the ball on that weekend, everyone was like, oh. And
The
I know
Roman
he's been-
sandal.
He's been injured a bit throughout the year, but, mate, for his size, he goes as hard as he can, which I really like.
What
But
about
he's
you,
also-
Dossie?
Anyone?
Anyone you'd like to see in there?
I like the Sunnybank Centre, and I also like Billy Drew, the East 15.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
He's
He was
silky,
awesome
man.
too.
He's silky. Good ball player. Unreal kicker of the footy. He's just got time on the ball, which I like to see. He's
I
only
think
young.
as well, one of the prerequisites as well is that they're not taking any Colts players.
So
Or
no,
anyone
no
Colt.
one under 19
That's
is
awesome.
being available for
That
selection.
is
I
awesome.
like that too. Can we just bring that graphic up again real quick, please, Zach? I just want to make note as well. Tyler Campbell looking pretty buff on the left there, but
I was just saying that's seamless.
He's,
Like, can we shout out to Sione?
he's not packing much heat down below, though, eh?
No, but
Jesus Christ.
that almost looks like it's them.
It looks pretty bang on for him,
Well,
but,
Sione.
well, hope not for Tyler Campbell's sake, bloody hell, for his missus'
He's a
sake.
grower. He's a grower.
How do you know that, friends? But yeah, no, I reckon that's a bloody good initiative to be able to get that experience from younger blokes, ease that transition through, and the fact that they're back touring is only going to be a bloody
So
good thing,
good.
man. Through Japan as well.
And it'll be a massive 2-game series. Like, you've got a Premier 15 there, but you've got a lot of guys who have played a lot of Premier Rugby in for the Reds, right? A lot of them wouldn't have played a lot of Super Rugby. So there's going to be a little bit of inexperience. So it's going to be pretty close and a good
you'll find
opportunity
some-
for these guys
Find
to...
some absolute gems, I reckon, too.
Absolutely.
Some of these guys are just like, whoever makes it, some will excel, and you just be like, oh, this is awesome.
It's going to be so bloody good. Now, it's actually pretty fortunate we've got you here, Will, because I want to get your thoughts on this as well, in particular, obviously, with your history in the NRL. Rugby Australia came out last week highlighting that they've got, I think, a hit list of 10 players that they really want to run some serious angles at to try to get back over or back to rugby union, highlighted by Joseph Suaalii, the 19-year-old from the Sydney Roosters. They came out and said that they would like to look at giving him 10 mil over 5 years.
Where did they find that 10 mil?
But that's it.
It's there.
Do you think, A, is there value in that sum for Joseph Suaalii? And B, is it worth running any angles at NRL players?
Oh, I think that it's worth it. It's definitely worth it because I've done it. Like, I went back and played rugby and you enjoy it. Like, he's obviously played it at a schoolboy age, and there'd be some part of him that would have aspirations on going back and playing for the Wallabies and playing Super Rugby. There's no doubt about that. But that sort of money, if they've got that money, he's not. There's no fighting. He'd sign instantly. Like, but that's ridiculous. That sort of coin. That's higher paid than any player in the NRL.
By a long way.
By a long way.
And not
It'd be
only that
close
as
to
well,
being-
it's more like the...
No, but he'd be the highest paid player in world rugby.
Yeah,
Simple.
yeah,
Like,
yes.
that's
Exactly.
And that's just ridiculous to think that you're going to do that to a kid that, he's got a lot of potential.
Hasn't even been proven in the NRL yet.
No, but like you look back over the years, and like someone I always think of is Cooper Cronk. Cooper Cronk played Australian schoolboys, was probably one of the most consistent and most professional rugby league players I've ever played with. Yet he never gets brought up in conversations. Oh, we're going to go get him. We're just getting that. It's just a media bait, to be honest. It honestly is. Like, they're saying Suaalii because of all the raps and all the hype about him, but like, that's just crazy. That's ridiculous, and it's very disrespectful to the players that are already there pulling on the green and gold jerseys. You know what I mean? And that's the big thing. Like, you'd lose. There'd be players that be going, they're not righto. Sweet, you pay him that, we're off. Then all of a sudden you got one player that's on $2 million. And 10 guys walk out the door, then you're in all sorts of trouble. You're going, well, now how do I get these next 10 blokes back? Like, you lose quality
100%.
players to go and chase. Like, I just think my big thing, and I've been a big believer in this all along, is grassroots footy. Like, bring it back that way and bring that through. Like, bring
that's 10 million bucks. It could
exactly.
go to it.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, you get your next 10 best kids coming out of school,
Yes.
and you go,
Yes.
go and grab these. Just grab these kids and go, fucking here we go. Oh, sorry, lads, I didn't mean to swear, but like, just go there. You
What's
go.
your fucking language?
No, that's what I mean. Like, instead of chasing someone now that's you've got to pay overs to bring back, just go and grab the next 10, get the next 20 best kids out of school and go, there's 500 grand each. There's 20 kids then that the NRL can't go and match. And if they do, they can get 800 grand. Someone in the NRL is getting shortchanged. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's the best way to do it. Instead of going and trying to poach guys and bring them back, keep the guys that you've already got. Because you got GPS footy in Brisbane, you got GPS footy in Sydney, and it's the that's the grassroots, that's the potential, that's all of Australian rugby coming through.
Yep.
And then just do it that way. I just think that it's madness, and like, I just think to offer that sort of money, if they've really got that money up for him, there's no fight. Like, he'll walk, and 110% he'll walk, because he'd be higher paid than his captain right now, James Tedesco, who's also playing for Australia. Like,
And
he'd just
he's
be laughing at him.
Arguably the best player in the comp.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So, like,
especially with like the system, it's somewhat broken at the moment. They're trying to rebuild it and stuff. Doing that, it's a kick in the nuts.
It's
really.
not a good
exactly.
look.
It's
not
so
good.
right. And to the boy, as I said,
You
to
see
the
even
boys
like-
that are already there, it's so disrespectful. Like, and that's why I think, like,
Well,
you
not,
know,
not even that. The women's rugby as well. They say, I can't.
Yeah, they don't even get paid.
Can't pay them exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You can't pay
We
them.
get 10 million for a 19-year-old boy. That, don't get me wrong, he's a superstar.
Yeah.
He's an out-and-out superstar, and whether he plays in the NRL or he plays for Australia or plays a Super Rugby, he's going to be a superstar. But I just think to pay that sort of money is ridiculous. And personally, I'd be going and grabbing all the young kids, mate. You get the next best 20, 30 young kids.
Yeah.
With that $2 million, that'll go a long way to them.
You invest this $10 million into grassroots now, we secure the next 20 Joseph Suaaliis for the next 10 years.
There's no Kalen Ponga like slipping through the net. Like, do you know what I mean? That he's locked up.
We miss Joseph Suaalii. Tough shit. That's like, as you sow, so shall you reap. We piss farted around for 15 years. We blew our war chest after the 03 World Cup because we were so top heavy with shit like this.
Yeah.
If we now invest in rugby, the next 10, 15 years will probably be a reversal of what we've actually had the last 10, 15 years.
But I also think that you look at the All Blacks, for example, all right? everyone in New Zealand wants to play for the All Blacks because they're successful. And the Warriors, they've gotten all the short change and whatever else. You flip that over in Australia, everyone wants to play NRL because it's in the limelight and whatever. But I remember when I was here in 2010 at the Reds, mate, we had the biggest crowd at Suncorp, like because everyone wanted to come and watch the Reds because they were playing a great style of footy and we're winning. And that's the big thing. If you win, mate, everyone wants to play your game. It's like the AFL at the moment, like the Brisbane Lions. They get massive crowds. Only a couple of years ago, they couldn't give tickets away for people to come to their games. Do you know what I mean? So, like, that's what they've just got to. They've got to think of how do we put bums on seats? Well. Yeah, long term, bums on seats, and then young kids want to play the game. Do you know what I mean? And that's the most important thing for them.
And bear in mind, the Wallabies sold out Allianz on Saturday.
Exactly right.
They are. It's not that like they're. 2-3 years ago, I remember I went to the Wallabies versus Ireland game, and it was a nearly sellout at Suncorp. And this is when we were in the worst shape we've ever been in, and all this shit. Like, correct. People want to watch the rugby in Australia. We just have to give them something to watch. Yeah. And I don't think Joseph Suaalii is going to do that. I think the Fraser McWrights and the Billy Pollards and the whoever the else, like these young kids coming through, because like when we got Wendell Saylor over, he brought eyes. When we got Matt Rogers and Lottie Takiri, they brought eyes over. No rugby league player is going to convert to rugby on Joseph Suaalii. No. They're not. They probably wouldn't even do it for Kalen Ponga. What we need to do is support ourselves, and that means invest in grassroots. And we got to remember as well, the money that we are getting from the British and Irish Lions in the World Cup, we don't have that yet. Yeah. Like, we don't have 10 mil yet.
Counting your eggs, eh?
Like, yeah. I've had this exact same conversation with Zach for about an hour before the show, and you've just validated. I feel so seen right now. Thank you, Will. I feel really good. I'm all tingly. I've got an enormous erection. Well, let me rephrase. I've got an erection.
Not a grower. Sorry.
But, Will, I mean, because that's you've had a pretty storied career, and as you said, you left school and went straight to the NRL, into the Melbourne Storm setup. What was it that firstly tempted you to go to the NRL, and then in 2009 was it or 10 to come back to rugby?
So when I was at school, I'd play league and union, and then the school didn't want me to play league, but then I'd sign to Melbourne. And so, Glenelg champion, what a legend. Filling up water bottles at the Western Falls. So then I'd sign down there, and it's probably, like, looking back, it's probably the best thing I'd ever done. I'll tell you a story about that later. He basically told me I'd never make it. So when I signed to the Storm, my first 15 coach told me I'd never make it. I remember 2010, we're walking out of the corridor, and he was there filling up the water bottles. I said, geez, you've made it far. I was going out, because I was going out at the Force. He was at the Force at the time. I was in the Reds. I was walking out, and he was filling the water boys. I fucking goose. But,
That's a good story. I like that.
So then so I sort of went to Melbourne, and it was just, I learned to become a professional real fast, and that sort of set me up then for the rest of my footy career. Do you know what I mean? In 2008, I blew my ACL, missed half that season. 2009, come back. Won a comp, and then so I went to the Reds then, and I was pretty fortunate also. Like, with all due respect, I signed to the Reds with Phil Mooney as a head coach, then he got resold, and I was like, oh no. Then Ewan McKenzie come in, and he'd be one of the smartest coaches I'd ever played under, just the way that he looked at rugby and whatever else, and just enjoyed it under him. And I was pretty fortunate. I also had Quaid and Willie G as the halves, Diggers was one winger, and then I had James Horwell as the captain in the forward pack, and so we had like a real stable forward pack, and then we had these erratic halves that just didn't care, and we just played footy, throw the ball around.
It was so good to watch.
It was. And it was also so good to train. It was a great organisation at the time, and it was just good fun. And then I sort of went over to Ireland, played over there for 6 months, and then went back to league because I missed it and wanted to play Origin, and then was lucky enough to achieve me golds, and then sort of travelled around, went to Japan, come back to the Sharks, and then end up in LA. So,
what was your what's your favourite season? Like, where you just go, mate, that was awesome.
I'd say 2017 was the most successful rugby season of my life. Like, I was fortunate enough to win an Origin series, win a grand final, win a World Cup. So that would probably be the one that like stands out. And I remember going to the grand final that we were playing the Cowboys and we were just humming, eh? I said to my old man, I said, have us, we're going to win it. And he was like laughing. He said, well, I said, mate, just take us. We were going, like, mate, we were morals, like we were just cruising, eh? Like, and that looking back at that year, that was just everything just fell into place, like, and it was just unbelievable. It was probably the best year of my life, and I just enjoyed me footy. But then I look back also, like winning the first grand final in 09. I blew me, so went to the Reds in 7, Storm in 7. They went to a grand final. Halfway through 8, I blow me ACL. I think, fuck, I'm gone here. They go to another grand final. I'm going, there's no chance, because they were in the grand final in 6. I said, they can't go to 4 in a row. Yeah. And then sure enough, I got in there. And yeah, so 9 and 12 were good, but 17 was just
special.
Yeah, everything fell into place, and yeah, it was good.
If you go back, Willie, you win a premiership in 2009, and I'm not too sure when you signed with the Reds, but I guess what was your reasoning? Jumping code? Were you always wanting to come back?
That's the exact reason that coach said to me when I was at school.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because he said I'd never make it, and I sort of...
It was a tough year, that one, mate.
We lost every game.
I always say, hey, no, mate, perfect season. Like, no, we lost them.
Yeah, lost them all, but I look back at that aid, and I think, like, I was always driven by people telling me I couldn't do things, and... Like, yeah, was it the best?
Run across Ross Oval.
No, straight across it. But I'd look back and go, it was just a part of my life where I'd always like try and find motivation. Didn't have any self motivation, and then as I got older, like I wanted to achieve my own goals and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I was mid 2000. So start of 2009, I told the Storm that I was going to be there for the following year, because I didn't want it to drag on. I was off contract, and I just couldn't be bothered going through a year going, oh, what are you doing? I was like, I told Bellyache, and he was sweet. He said, mate, so long as you're committed to this year, we'll just go from there. And he said, mate, you just stick at it. And I played every game, and it was all good, eh?
What was he like? Like, he's just one of those guys that he's got the algorithm.
No, he's
sorted. What's he like? Is it?
To me, it's very different. Like I went there as a 17-year-old kid that was loose on the piss, and like, do you know what I mean? Like and he just like he got all that out of me and like fixed me up basically. And I remember I was telling someone, I might have been one of the boys in LA. Like I copped a spray one day in a meeting. I was fuming. I was in the right, and it was. Like I was not in the right. I made the wrong decision or whatever, and I was fuming because like a couple of other boys didn't get in trouble. And I walked out and I was like seething. I was like, fuck this, I'm out, like I'm done. And then he walks up to me and he goes, oh, how's Bianca and the kids? That's my wife and kids. I looked at him, I said, you fair dinkum? And he goes, come in the office. He said, mate, see that there? That's work. He said, now I care about you as a person. And that there just rings true of the person he is. Like, we're in a meeting room, he'd just tee off on you and go berserk, and you'd be going, fuck. And then you walk out and he'd be like, me, you want to go for a coffee? Like, mate, Jim, yeah? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, I just had, and I've had such a great relationship with him, and I still keep, like, well in contact with him. And there's a lot of boys I do, and yeah, like, I sort of, like, that era that I was down in Melbourne was just phenomenal. And I was so, like, I'm forever grateful for the opportunity I got down there with so many professionals, and like you got like Bill and that as well, Cam, like they're all just these ultimate professionals, but they had their own unique way of preparing and playing footy.
Such a good there's a lot of good like man managers like that, like your Wayne Bennett, your
but
Bellamy's and stuff.
Well, Bellamy was under Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, he was.
So good to it's good. But cool to hear that sort of stuff.
You've gone cross code. You've arguably had, in my opinion, 3 of the best coaches to do it in Ewan McKenzie.
Yeah.
Eddie Jones and Craig Bellamy. You've been coached by all of them. What sets them apart? Obviously, you touched on Craig a little bit there, but what about the other 2? Like, they're all 3 very different coaches.
Yeah, so Ewan was real tactically very clever, and just, mate, you go into games, you go, mate, we're going to trick these guys all game. You know what I mean? I was just like, mate, he had all these brilliant ideas, and I'd never looked at a game the way that he did. Eddie Jones and Bellyache are very similar. Like, the way how intense they are, and that around footy and stuff. Like Bellyache would just stand at the end with his glass on. Eddie'd be at the back screaming and yelling, and that was them 2 are similar. Another good coach I had was Mal Meninga. Mal Meninga was a very, very good man manager, but he had another different outlook again because he only had us for 3 Origins. His things were, mate, I just got to get used to play for 80 minutes. That's all I've got to do is get used up for 80 minutes. So he was really good as well, and I had him in the World Cup in 17, and he was phenomenal, just the way that he got the boys to buy in and just believe in that we were good enough. And, I think that Bellyache and Eddie Jones, for most coaches, would have only a short lifespan because of how intense they are. But they must have it balanced well for their life away from footy because, I wouldn't. And that's half the reason why I don't ever want to go into coaching was because of how intense they are about their coaching and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoy it. I don't mind having an intense coach because at least I know where I stand. And as long as they're direct and honest with you, well, then you know what you got to fix up. If you don't fix it up, you're not on the side. And it's pretty simple, do you know what I mean? And that's how Bellyache, he always said, I'll always pick a defensive player over an attacking player because we've got enough attack in this room. And we had GI, Bill, Coops, Cam. You're like, yeah, I can agree with that. You know, as long as I make my tackles, I might get a crack here. But yeah, no, I just think that they all managed really well. And the one thing about all the good coaches, they can put footy aside and worry about you as an individual. And if you can do that as a coach and separate it, that's the most important thing, especially today's day and age. You know what I mean? With everything going on in the world and how much pressure's on a footy player, I think that's very important, being able to separate, especially with the young kids coming through. That's the most important thing, do you know what I mean? And as a parent now, you'd want someone that's their boss that's going to look after them in a lot of ways, do you know what I mean?
And you're almost like the rugby equivalent of Forrest Gump. Wherever you go, either a premiership tends to precede or follow wherever you tend to go through the Storm and the Reds and the Guiltinis and all this shit and the Sharks.
You guys went all right in Ireland too, didn't you?
Munster here. I left, but we were into the Heineken Cup semi-final. Heineken Cup semi-final or something. But I'd come back. So that was 2012, and then I was fortunate. I come back. I was out of the Sharks, the Bulldogs, and the Storm. And I was coming back on nothing because I sort of mucked up a bit, when I was at the Reds and wasn't real welcome in Australian rugby, and I had a bad rap everywhere. But from there I got pretty fortunate, and Bellyache and that gave me one last chance and ended up winning the comp there in 12. So it's pretty cool. It's
crazy, yeah. And you've had a pretty roundabout way through your rugby career as well. But a lot of people wouldn't know that your centre partner in 05 at Nudgee was none other than Namani Nadolo, who also has had a pretty crazy, I guess, career in so much as, had the under-20s, Aussie under-20s, and then down in the Tars, and then found himself in Japan.
He was at the Broncos there for a bit, wasn't he?
I think he did a pre-season training,
the Broncos,
the train and trial deal and all this stuff, and then found himself in Japan, and then almost out of nowhere in his mid-20s, he's killing it. And not even mid-20s, maybe late 20s, he's killing it for the Crusaders. He's killing it for the Crusaders out of nowhere. But, I mean, it must be pretty exciting to see, an old mate like that. He's arguably, on his days, arguably the best rugby player in the world.
Yeah, he's a big fella, eh? He was massive. He was massive at school, but
he was huge.
I remember when he first came there, he said, "My winger that kicks skulls." I was like, "No, you're not. You're a front roller, mate. You're packing the scrum." But no, he was skillful and that. Yeah, it's so good to see him coming back, and it's great to see him go back to the Waratahs as well. Do you know what I mean? He's like you said, he's had a roundabout career. He's been everywhere, and he's over in Europe and England. It's just good to see him come home and hopefully close out his career there at the Waratahs, and hope they can go do something special next year.
And what are your thoughts on the MLR? I think on the PAC podcast last week we had Harry Higgins, who talked about weird careers, man. He's just absolutely mental. It was more about chop and piss than anything else. But he talks about MLR being the sleeping giant. You've got these professional players coming in. You've got the college system with all these South Africans and Kiwis at BYU and Maryland and Navy and all this stuff. It's a strong competition, and they've got the World Cup within the next decade as well.
Yeah, I think that's their end goal, is that 10 years time, that World Cup. But I was just watching there before with that Gordon side. You look at Harrison Goddard. He's I was speaking to Dal before. He's killed it for the last month or so in that shoot shield, and mate, he was 3 years ago, couldn't get a crack anywhere. Goes over there, starts playing some good, consistent footy in a professional organisation, and then he's now gone back to the Waratahs. He's come back and he'll get another crack. Do you know what I mean? I think that you'll see a lot of young kids that can't crack it in Super Rugby or on that fringe will go over there, get into a professional organisation. Can't say that word, I think if you get him over there, get young kids over there, it'll be unreal for him. Because once you get into that, the professionalism of it all, then you start creating habits and whatever, and then you become like you can go to that next level. Do you know what I mean? It's so important. And look, in Japan, it took them 10 years to get it going over there, right?
Yeah.
And 10 years time from now, there's a World Cup. You'd like to think that it's humming over there. I reckon next year after the World Cup, you'll see some big names go because they'll have to up the salary cap and everything else over there, and then they'll start to try and pump it up and chase that big one for the World Cup.
Was that a good season at Giltinis?
Oh, yeah, until the end.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, we'll just come in well. We'll come in good, eh? Like we'd have a few players out and stuff, but we're just starting to hum and we're starting to go in the right direction. And yeah, it's a shit fight at the end, but yeah, it is what it is. And hopefully go back next year and just go and finish it all off. Do you know what I mean? Like you look, New York won it and we pumped them by 50. But, so, do you know what I mean? So we'll just see how we go. We'll wait and see. And bit of a dead rubber that one, but let's go from there.
Let's talk about you personally and the people that you've played with. So let's talk about it from a playing perspective. I think you touched on Cooper before, but playing across two codes, who's the best you've done it with?
That's a tough one, mate. Like I'd like to think one of the most. I'd go say Coops, Bill, and Matt Giddo would be the three most professional people I've ever played with. Gitz has got so much rugby league about him. It's not funny in the sense that the way that he prepared, but I can only go off what I've seen, and that's the big thing. Like what I've seen from the way that he's prepared and the way that he's gone about his footy is just phenomenal. Like, and that's the same as the way that Bill did, the way that Coops did. They never missed a rep, never did anything wrong. Like everything was perfect, and it's probably why their careers stretched out so long.
Yeah.
Then you got like Cam that was just a natural leader. Do you know what I mean? And he just never got flustered. Like he wasn't the fittest, he wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, but he just fucking do his job.
Is that Cam Munster?
No, Cam Smith.
Okay,
Cam Smith, yeah, just done his job. And then like you got like Munster, Quady, all them. Like there's so many freaks that I've played with, and to narrow it down to one would be unfair on so many others because I think that like Genya, Willie G was good, Quady, like you've got all these as well that were just phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? And that's for me to narrow it down to one on the best footy player. I'd say, I don't know. I'd say I've got a real like Coops would be the one because I played so much like alongside him at every level. I reckon he would be. Then like I'd play with like Jonathan Thurston. Like, do you know what I mean? Like he's as fucking as good as anyone. He's as good as anyone. Do you know what I mean? So that for me, it's very hard. But
I told you, you're like
You've been
the rugby
pretty
equivalent of Forrest
You've
Gump.
been pretty lucky.
Yeah.
I haven't
You
even
just
said
named
like,
like 10 fucking
but
Hall of
that's-
Fame.
Oh yeah, play with that guy. Play with that guy.
And then you throw Inglis in.
yeah, but that's what I mean. I'd say Greggy is the most naturally gifted athlete. Most naturally gifted
But
athlete.
he was superhuman. He's what, 6'5",
Oh,
fast
mate,
as the
mate.
wind.
Mate,
He would have
110
been
kilo.
worth 10 million, mate.
He was
Yeah.
he was phenomenal. Like we'd always used to make this joke. How strong is Greggy? Just strong enough. Like how fast is he? Just fast enough to beat you. Because I don't reckon he ever reached his full potential.
Rapini
Never looked
Count
like
that
he
way.
was
Yeah,
trying.
exactly, but-
Never looked like he was trying.
Yeah,
but
like,
he's just gassing
Yeah,
everyone.
The gym coach at Melbourne's got some crackers about like testing days and stuff like that. Like he'd go pick up 40 kilos to practice his squats, and then away he'd go, mate. He'd go out and squat 220 with like ease. Like he was phenomenal as an athlete. But I don't know. It's so hard. Like to narrow it down to one player that I've played with. It's so hard.
You know, you
that is
mentioned some
ridiculous
big
goods.
names like, and I've obviously only have exposure to rugby, and I put Willie Genya in this. You know, he's in a different sort of level, but he was one throughout his career. Obviously, he made tons of sacrifices to get to where he was. You know, like with rugby, especially rugby union, we travel the world. You know, we have great nights on the piss. We have fun all over the place. But Willie was always one. You know, he wouldn't enjoy those things as much. He'd pick his times, 1 or 2 times a year. Were Cooper, Cam Smith, and were they the same, or were they more sort of involved in the
that's what
team?
I mean. Like Cam, we'd win games, and Cam would be still in his gear like mid-morning on the piss. Like,
That's so good.
I mean, but like then
He's a kid from Logan, mate.
Yeah, but then
Papa.
like Bill would enjoy a beer, but like he wouldn't get blind, and then Coops might get on the piss here and there. Like it was just they were all different. It was just a different dimension. You know what I mean? Like I remember like after an Origin, that all three of them would be on the piss with you, and you'd be going, "Fuck, we got to play in 2 days." Like and you'd be looking around going, "Are these three?" And they just all back up. There was no issue. And I remember one day I asked them why they backed up when I was younger. said, why do you always back up? And I'm like, well, if it wasn't for the boys that were in this room now that we're playing with at Melbourne,
wouldn't be playing
we
Origin.
wouldn't be playing Origin. So like and that there,
damn.
and that always rings clear.
So selfless, hey?
You watch Melbourne always, all their Origin players always back up. Very rarely do you get rested.
So
in that.
good.
And I always ask that same question that you asked them. I'm like, why the hell are they backing
Nah,
up?
but it's because without and then I remember we played this one game. And it was at the Amy Park. I was sitting there going, fuck, why am I doing this?
Head
and
noise.
they're over there like preparing normally. I'm going, wow. And then we get out, we go smoke a team. And you're just like, yeah, now I know why I'm doing it. But because, teammates rely on you at clubland as much as they do at international, at State of Origin level.
Got to
Yeah.
be mentally tough to get up for, though.
What was the most sort of intense, physically sort of games and stuff you played? Would it have been your Origins?
Nah, the World Cup final was just when we went back to that one referee.
Was that against England? Was it?
England, we
Yeah.
won 8-4.
Yeah.
I'm
Were they
like,
just big, tough British
mate,
blokes?
Yeah,
like,
but it was just like it was end-to-end footy, and there was only one ref, so like the ruck speed was just ridiculous. And I remember sitting there, like I was gassed at the end. I just won a World Cup, I was laid on the ground. I was like, nah, who cares, man? I was so gassed. Like that was probably that was the hardest one, I reckon. Like I was like, fuck. But then I reckon I know a few of the Origins, like some of the Origins later on when the game just went through the roof
quick,
fast. Yeah, like I just remember there was one. I think it was we went the first 26 minutes of an Origin without an error or a ball out of play. Like, and that was just like end-to-end footy, and it was just you end up stuck between the 30s because you're sort of just there. And so like the forwards, they're just turning around, chase a kick, they just turn around. Like they don't even know carry. Like you back five over the carries and away from there. But I don't know, like. You play some big, tough games here and there, but it's just speed of the game that's the hard bit.
yeah, the Origin this year was insane, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Best Origin ever. That last one, mate, that was phenomenal.
That was
Benny
insane,
Hunt,
wasn't
when
it?
Benny Hunt got that ball. Jesus. I was in Mexico at the time. a few tequilas short.
Just touching on that, you've had your fair few celebrations, right? You've celebrated a few things. Who's the best to do it on the piss? You've had a few.
Probably Kevy Proctor. He's a genuine madman, mate. Like not many will beat him, eh? Like I've been with AFL boys, union and league, and not many will do his shoelaces up. He's phenomenal, mate. Ridiculous.
Well, that's
Shout out to Kevin Proctor.
Yeah, I was actually about to say we got some questions sent in on our socials earlier today. The first one came from Mark Gaggan, don't know on what, but says here the loosest human on a Mad Monday. So
Kevy,
Kevin Proctor.
I've seen we were on a trip away to the Tyke. I don't know which ones they were. They were the older boys like Bryce Gibbs and that. I've seen some shit they did on a map. Or put on a trip away. And what they were doing, I was just like, what the fuck's going on? This is not rugby league. This is a whole different world. But I reckon, I've been, like, you see a lot of different stuff, man. Look, people are loose on the piss, do you know what I mean? But, I reckon Kevy be the best.
He's just good gas.
Yeah.
So Penny _Banuve wants to ask, best player he played during his school days at Nudgee?
Played against?
Yeah, I assume
Played
so.
with.
No, it says here,
Played
best
with.
player
With
he
and against.
played.
Bill
he played
Costello.
during-
But then, I reckon David Pocock. I remember we played Churchy.
Bro, that game, man, at Ross Oval.
Mate, we played Churchy, and if we won, we would have tied the comp. They played
Who's playing
David.
centre, hey?
Played inside centre. So we had these plays.
He played 12 for first 15 and then made Australian schoolboys at 7.
Yeah, but he
And I was
played.
like, what is this shit?
Mate, I remember, we had these plays, and all year they were working well. Anyway, we played there, mate. Every time I got the ball, he's over the top of it. Like, mate, no one can move him. He's a beast, He's like a little tank over the ball. But then, I just reckon, he was. I've always had so much respect for him. I loved everything about the way that he went about footy, and I really respect him as a footballer.
Yeah, I feel your Chambers. Zach said he's got footage of him bumping me from. I think they beat us 78-0. Or maybe that was you guys. I don't know.
It was all a
blur.
Craig Mulholland wants to ask, one player you despise, but once you became teammates, you became good mates.
Ooh, that's a good question.
So essentially, Doss or Dow.
Nah, I don't even really know. I haven't.
Who's a grub? Then you
Grub.
and
Who
played
did you
with him,
think
you're
was a
like,
bit
he's
of a
actually
grub,
pretty
but
good.
then you're like, oh, he's actually
No,
pretty good
Sam
bloke.
Burgess, for example. I've had some mad run-ins with him, but apparently he's a real good fella. But I've never had much to do with him. But I respected him as a footballer. Paul Gallen's the same. I respected him, but Mate, I had some mad run-ins with them. Do you know what I mean? The sledging was off its head, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, but I respect them as the way how tough they are and the way they went about their business. And at the end of the day, like, I always say, like, mate, people think I'm an absolute cocksucker, but all I did was have white line fever. Like, I wanted to win, and when I was younger, like, I remember Bellak said to me, you got to make it personal. So I used to run on the field, like, stand opposite the guy and just mouth him straight away because...
Learned that in the dorms, mate.
Because instantly then it was personal. And then he hated me, I hated him, and we're just going to go at it. But, yeah, I got carried away at times. I said shit that I shouldn't have said. But at the end of the day, I still shake their hand and you just go from there. Do you know what I mean? And that was... Yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't have too many that come to Melbourne. That, like, I reckon the whole of Cronulla didn't like me at one stage. I ended up playing for them, but like, I got a police escort in and out of Shark Park. You know what I mean?
When you played there.
Yeah. So.
Is there a sledging battle with an opponent that stands out?
Oh yeah, man. I've said some real bad, like nasty stuff. Like, I would never ever. I repeated it on the piss, but like, I don't like talking about it because I look back at it and just think, fuck, what was I thinking when I said that? Like,
Yeah.
But it's just because I just go blank.
But in terms of someone coming back at you,
Did anyone get you? Like, oh, jeez.
nah,
That one hurt.
Because I remember Willie Mason said once, he said, if someone gets back at you, just cut them to the bone. Like, just go straight to the bone, go to the most ruthless thing you can say to someone and just leave it at that. Like, that's all I thought when I did it. I just thought, oh, well, I'll just go straight to the bone.
straight to the bone.
So good.
Well, Will, I just got word from Zachy Boy. He actually said we've got highlights from that 05 Nudgy versus Churchy game showing up on the screen here. Check this out.
I got a little white headgear on, don't I?
Yeah, you would
The
have.
Canterbury white
Look at
headgear.
Rat running second.
Yeah, look at him go.
Was CT at the
Is
back
Gussie
then?
Cameron
Yeah.
in this team as well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gussie was there.
Mate, I remember.
How'd you pull this?
There's Damani.
There
Look
he
at
is.
him.
There's
That's
Nems.
big.
Looks like Sully.
Look at this.
Who else they have?
Video quality's not too
They
bad,
had
actually.
Quay, didn't they?
Yeah,
Quay
Quay.
Cooper at 10. Will Thompson at 9.
Yeah.
Oh, Will Thompson
Fraser
is a good
Evans
player.
at fullback. James Sherrill-Lambus at hooker.
Fraser Evans, there
Fraser
he is.
Evans.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Who's that? He's quick.
Is that Gus?
No, Blair Connor.
Oh, it is.
Hey, you would never run past
He was
him.
rapid, mate. How about this? How's the memories, mate?
Where did you get this from, Zachy?
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Johnny Sayre, probably.
From his porn stash, I think. Look at this. How about it?
Wow, that's phenomenal.
It's Starny.
Yes.
There's Quaid.
Yeah.
He had that Jerry curl.
That's Blair.
Was that?
It's a red card.
There he is.
Mate,
Probably
this was
got a
early.
team.
This was early in the game. It's still 0-0, and Nemzi's just bombed this from the sideline.
From 40 out.
Yeah.
Mate, he was
Cleared it by
so
a good 15 metres. Will Thompson, one player who
He was amazing.
should have played higher football, mate.
Harry Elliott, he was good as well.
Yeah, he was tough as an old boot,
Is that
mate.
rat? Is that rat?
I
No,
don't
it's
know.
not that. It's definitely not rat, mate. He would have been.
That's rat. That's
He
rat.
would have had square wheels. That was not that fast.
Let's look at
Chris
Pocock. Look at the
Johnson.
size of Pocock there.
Oh,
Gee,
CJ.
look at him just move the whole ruck. Jesus, he's like packed a scrum on us.
Look at the size of him there, eh? Look at the size of him, man. Wearing 12.
Mate, I played water polo against him in grade 12, and mate, he was just an absolute weapon.
Rat. That's rat. Oh. He's my best player.
Admit one.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yawning.
Same move.
That's
Blair,
Blair.
get him, Blair.
That's Nick Wright.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, it is too.
Is it?
Yeah.
There he is.
You had the mohawk.
No, I had a
Look at the mohawk.
Yeah, the
there.
I had
black
a
headgear.
No, he had the
Black-
mohawk.
You had the
Faux
mohawk.
hawk. Look at this.
Something changed.
How good is this
Nah.
shit?
Surely they don't go to length.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mate, this Churchy side was so sick.
Red hot, man.
So sick. But they didn't play crazy football. They were just...
Who's that? Chasing.
Don't know.
Is that a self-plug?
Oh,
A
Angus
shameless
Lay.
plug?
No, Angus Lay was.
Oh, was that Angus Lay
No, he's a 7. He was.
He
a
was
7.
7.
Yeah, yeah.
in grade 10?
Good scrum.
Oh, against the feed. Jeepers. Oh, Bongo. That's who's on there.
Oh, that's right, Bongo.
Bongo. Sick.
Big Gavin Warren. Is that Big Gavin Warren?
Yeah. No, he played. No,
Seamus
number 1.
Delahunty.
Yeah. That's it. They won.
How about it?
40-3, wasn't it?
42.
Oh, was it a bloodbath?
Yeah, absolute hiding.
Oh, well.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
The old days, eh?
Mate, that Churchy side was ridiculous.
How good were the big cotton jerseys?
Oh, mate.
Oh, mate, ridiculous, eh? Absolutely. I still wear my first 15 jersey to bed now, and it fits better now than it did when I was in grade 12. And I was 30 kilos lighter.
Oh.
They just didn't give a shit, eh? Oh, mate. How good was that? One last question coming in from Shay Lala Chambers before we go forward. Who gets weirder on the piss, league or union, lads?
Oh, I reckon league.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no. Union are pretty. Yeah, it's pretty tame. Like it's. I don't know. Like fine.
What about in Europe, mate? The English.
Oh, the Irish dudes were pretty crazy, but they're just big drinkers. Do you know what I mean? Like they get blind and go to bed. Like the Japs are fun. Oh, Japanese are fun. Like,
They go hard and fast, too.
Go real red.
Oh yeah, mate.
pass
They get the hour of power, man. And you,
Gunpie.
the high balls. Yeah,
yeah.
mate. They get absolutely
real
blind.
red,
Yeah,
mate.
sit there, piss and shit themselves, and that's all over. Put them on the train and send them home.
So good. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's so sick. Alrighty, well now we might plug ahead. We don't have anything for the Battlers bench, friends.
No, mate, sorry.
No, that's all good. I don't really
Head
give a shit
noise
either
until Sunday. Big Friday night. No. Went full Proctor.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right, well, let's get straight into the Hospital Cup then. We saw an absolute belter played out between the Doggies and UQ. 37 points apiece coming at the end of the game. 10 minutes of extra time with no side being able to break the golden point, resulting in the Doggies going through. Dow, this was brutal.
Unbelievable. Both teams were exceptional. Like when UQ are up 10 points
10 points with
7 minutes to
3
go.
minutes to go.
3 minutes to go.
Gosh,
You think
how?
it's almost unlosable, but you know what I mean? They just stuck at it, and Marty Lippitt caught it early, and West just powered back. And then we had 8 minutes of scrums, and they ended up getting there. They probably should have won from a penalty, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
penalty try, but
yeah, I mean, there's 8 penalties after the hooter.
it was
I was
incredible.
actually asking Zach because I was at the game and obviously didn't see or hear the referee's interpretation of why he wasn't giving a penalty try. And you could see Connor Anderson every scrum penalty going, what is happening, what is happening, what is happening? I was under the interpretation that maybe it's because the Doggies weren't going forward, hence why. But then they did,
Yeah.
and then after that should have been. I don't know.
Correct. And that's the only one I think should have been. The other ones before that was just simple penalties, repack, go again, yellow card, and then...
But once the Doggies showed that they were dominant, any penalty after that.
Correct. And that's what it should have been. But, hey, it was a hell of a game, and, you know, I think UQ will be remembering all the missed kicks they did. I think they missed 6 kicks.
Yeah,
Brad
Brad Twidale shanked that one right in front. I think I got in his head a little bit. I was just yelling out "Gimp" so loud, eh? So
That was
I
real-
practically won that game.
The best was at the end, Elvie. Just full Conor McGregor through the stands. He was just like...
He would have been loving it.
Oh, just like you, funny little bastard. Oh, mate, he was stoked, though. Big
Well,
fella.
DOS, I think so this weekend that game, I just feel like whatever side lost that game, they are going to
Was
find
not
it
gonna make the
very
grand
difficult to
final.
win this weekend, man.
I mean,
Like,
brothers.
if it was the Doggies or UQ, no matter what side it is,
Yeah.
beating brothers after 100+ minutes of
It's gonna be tough.
football,
It's going to be a tough ask.
you need a week at least to get over that game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I totally agree. You know, that's why the Dogs, fought so hard to get that win, because now they get the week off. UQ got to dust themselves off quickly against a good brothers team. Will they still have Wilso this week?
They should have all of them.
They should have all of them
Yeah.
this week. I mean, in my opinion, they're the favourites going into this week. I mean, they've been really good the last month, and I think they'll have a bit too much firepower But yeah, man, it's going to be mentally and physically tough for uni to come back from that and back it up, you know, 7 days out. But, mate, you know, in saying that, we're just talking to Willie Chambers. Guys are backing up 2 days later after an origin. So, you know, it's not really an excuse.
If anyone can do it, uni can.
Yeah, correct.
And I don't think they're going to miss as many kicks and shit like that as they did on the
But
weekend.
you don't want brothers to be complacent either. Like, so brothers have watched that game. Like, subconsciously, they're thinking, oh, well, mate, they're gone. Like, they're cooked. We've got them. And then uni just go, well, we'll just freshen up all week and we'll have a crack at them. Do you know what I mean? They've got, like, everything to lose, but they've been there and they know what they've got to do. Like, and that's
correct.
the big thing. So, like, you don't, like, they could lose a game, but brothers could also lose a game in the sense that their mentality that they take into the game. That's the most important thing leading into this week. Like, you've written uni off because they've had a big game, but I've seen plenty of teams jump off the canvas and go. But then saying that, they win this week, they've got another big one again next week. They've got to play this team that mentally
got
got
a
them.
final this weekend.
But see, that they may have played their final, but they might be able to go one more round.
I mean, it's uni, mate. They're pretty bloody special. And it's not like Hino's going to be taking them down to St. Lucia the next 3 nights and flogging them.
Nah.
Yeah.
No.
Like,
I thought
they don't have to change the game.
I thought brothers' defensive effort though, like the amount of tries and big moments they had on the weekend were I haven't seen that for a while from brothers. Like, that was awesome. That was awesome for them. They were just defensively was so good, and they really just shut Jeeps down on those crucial moments. So it's going to be a cracker of a game.
Let's delve into that, because brothers getting up 23 points to 18. I personally, friends, wasn't anticipating Jeeps to take it to them the way they did. I think the weather probably obviously suited Jeeps a little bit better. And I think it was the class of guys like James O'Connor and co that actually sort of shone for the brethren. But, mate, Jeeps put in a hell of a shift.
Yeah, their little mind games of the team arrangements before the game. When I saw the last team come through, I'm like, oh, we're on here.
Yeah, with Bobby Tuttle in the mix.
Yep. So I thought a couple of boys had some massive. I think one blow we probably had was losing Burnsy early with the head knock. He's a worker. Like, you know, we've got enough flair. So we lost a worker early on, and I just thought it was a cracker of a game.
Yeah,
it was a cracker of a game, and it was awesome to watch. End-to-end footy. There's some awesome moments in there.
We saw some individual brilliance, Dow, but do you think this brothers' side with so many changes in the back line in particular, but then you've got some other guys having come in, a bit of reshuffling and stuff like that, they're starting to click?
Definitely. But yeah, starting to click, but you've also got a back line that have basically played a lot of footy together. They played at the Reds, you know what I mean? James and Lawson and, you know, Hamish Stewart.
And it's not like
he was awesome too.
Hamish Stewart,
And it's not like Harry Hooper, Ryan Smith, and Harry Wilson have been so far removed from the brothers setup that it's a whole new ball game for them.
Nah, that'll be good. It's going to be a cracking game. It'll be really interesting.
Well, what are we picking this weekend then? So we've got having to travel down to Bondi, yeah?
Oh, that was...
Oh, I'm just so glad the doggies made it so I didn't have to do that shit. Well, what are we picking then this weekend, friends? You've got brothers off a good, strong win against Jeeps, and you've got UQ after 100-plus minutes of hard grafting toil. Down the GC.
Mate, I'm going to back brothers.
Backing brothers?
Yeah, I'm backing brothers. I just reckon... I was saying to Dale earlier today that I thought just in particular moments, especially the back three, they made some really good decisions exiting, things like that. They've got too much... They had some really good moments there where I think they just might... It's going to be a cracker of a game, but I'm backing brothers.
Will, who are you backing?
I'll take the underdogs.
UQ? Yeah, right. Yeah,
I'll take them. I know that. Yeah, you've written them off, but I don't mind that.
Yeah. Dow?
Brothers by 7.
Ooh.
It's not a bad call.
Why is that?
Was I rambling a bit there, Dale?
Yeah, you kind of started to backtrack a little bit.
He's like, the brothers are good people. You know,
It hurts to say it, but I'm trying to be an unbiased rugby fan here.
No, I just think set piece, we're going to match them up front. It's going to be a good battle there. I just think the experience. James has got something to prove. Lawson Crichton on the wing seems to be absolutely electric. Hamish there, they're just doing their job. I just think brothers will be just too good.
Dossie?
I agree. I think it's going to be brothers. Just off the back of what Dale said, I think they've just got a bit too much class. Like, I know this uni team historically, has always been the best team this year. But I think both of their games this year,
Very close, yeah.
very close. Brothers dominant for such long periods. Getting that to big leads and then Uni coming back, especially the most recent one at Crosby Park. And I just think, the inclusion of James, Wilso, a couple of the Reds guys, they don't let Uni back into the game like that. So I think they've just got a bit too much firepower.
Who do we think's the best matchup for the Doggies in the GF then? Do you think Brothers play closer to West than UQ do? When you consider the big forward pack, the back line, Brothers are probably a better match, you'd say.
I reckon West would be wanting to play Uni.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
They probably fear Brothers the most. Not that you want to fear anyone, but they're probably the
Wanna
most
get the tails
skeptical.
up.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. That Brothers are very similar. Big, strong forward pack, good set piece,
Too much class.
very handy back row, and then a back line full of stars. I'm picking Brothers this weekend as well. Man, it'd be fucking so hard to get up after that loss on the weekend. Glad it happened to UQ, but the Dogs. All right.
About time you've started spruiking that, mate.
What, the
And
Doggies?
I'm glad you're not turning your back on them. I know,
love
of
the
course, there's a
Doggies, mate.
bandwagon sort of time of year, but maybe just back them through the tough times. That's all I'm saying, mate.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I will admit it's actually the first Dogs game I've gone to all year, eh?
You're such a piece.
I
of
just
You're a
work hard,
dog,
mate. I've got a
man.
baby coming next week. Leave me alone.
Extra
I'm working
hours,
hard.
yeah.
Yeah. Got to put a roof over my head.
Fair enough, man. Just a bit more optimistic instead of pessimistic. That's all I'm saying, man.
Have you had some media training?
No. Am I getting better?
You're getting a lot better.
Thanks, mate.
You're getting a lot better.
That's weird. I heard we might have seen you at Ballymore earlier today. What was you there?
Nah.
No media training? No? Okay.
Listen, mate. Buried the hatchet.
No, all good. All right, now let's rip through to our rugby segment to round this one out. We've been going for quite some time, but who gives a shit? It's been good fun. Freeney, your rugby from the weekend just gone. Sia Khaleesi, Springbok skipper.
Yes, mate. How good was he?
Unbelievable, mate.
He
Unbelievable. The
he
breakdown
schooled us.
pressure from the box was insane.
He schooled us.
He schooled us big
awesome.
time.
He was awesome, mate. He was everywhere, and that's all I've got to say about that.
It's kind of funny.
Perfect.
It's kind of funny that only like a few years ago his position in that box side was a bit 50-50 leading into the World Cup final
Just
as the
killed
skipper
it,
as
mate.
well, and
He
now
just killed
he's untouchable. And it's like he gets given the skipper's armband, wins that World Cup, and now he's
And
like
more is insane.
he just grows.
But I
with
mean-
responsibility.
Yeah, but for me, and it's not just the responsibility of the team. Like, he has gone out, he's taken the responsibility of the whole nation, and he has embraced it.
100%.
Being, their black captain. He's dove into the whole country. He's bringing people from all walks of life into it, and what he's doing is just brilliant. And it's, to me, it's just no coincidence that it's corresponded with his on-field performances.
Yeah.
Because his off-field stuff. There was that one. I think there was one little glitch there. There was some rumours circulating around. He's got this underwear brand, and there was some rumours circulating around some mistrust with the missus and blah blah blah. That could have derailed him.
Is
you
this
guys
PAC
miss?
news?
You guys miss?
60% of the time we're right.
This was a few years ago.
Whatever
This
the
is a few years ago. But yeah, man, no surprise that his form on the field has corresponded with getting that captain's armband and what he's doing in
Nice
in
cover,
the whole of
mate.
South Africa.
Nice cover.
Speaking of backtracking, yeah.
Speaking of beep, beep.
Also got a ripping story from him for the Under-20s World Cup in 2010, but it's not for the PAC podcast.
He can confirm he is a shower. No.
Yes.
Dallin, yours, Cam Flavel, 4-try superstar from the weekend just gone.
Cam Flavel stepping into big shoes. We all know he's a class act, but obviously losing Josh Nasser, Super Rugby player, but he was fantastic. 4 tries and then forced the turnover and charged down when Cooper Whiteside, had the opportunity to win the game. So he was everywhere, and he's one I think that'll be a part of that. Challenger series. He's just been immense.
His set piece work is so good.
Unreal.
So good. And I think that's Nothing against Josh Nasser, but he's an out-and-out hooker. Like, Josh Nasser's still learning his craft, but Cam Flavel, the uni line-out was damn near impeccable on the weekend.
was,
A lot
yeah,
of
it
it's
was
down
very
to him, mate. He's just an absolute gun. Dossie, yours, Damien Phillips.
Yeah, man, he's class. I like.
Good, was he?
Yeah, he's great.
He was creating a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I like him. I like him at 10, a bit better than at 15.
Yeah.
But man, his progression over the last few years, in terms of he's now bringing in these consistent performers. I think his kicking game was great. Obviously playing to their game plan. But yeah, man, he was for me the best player on the weekend.
And then, oh, mate, how about Kane and Moody, mate? The 19-year-old from the Springboks, man. He's an absolute superstar, eh?
Yeah,
An absolute superstar, man.
he was awesome. Who does he play club for? I haven't even seen one bit of footage of him this year. Like, who does he play club rugby for?
Don't know, don't care.
Is that sorry?
That South
Kane
African
and Moody,
winger,
the
young fella.
19-year-old winger that scored that try off the bomb.
Never seen him in my life.
I think what is he, from Blue Bulls or Stormers or something? No, I read a little bit about him before the tour started. Didn't really think two thoughts about it, and then he comes out and does that.
They've got a definite big pool of guys like that. It's insane, isn't it? Who was that other guy who got knocked out the other way? Oh, he got red carded. Is he still suspended or something?
What's his
Chester
name? It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Anyway.
Aria something. Yeah. Starts with
He'll
an A,
say
I'm pretty
good.
sure. He's a gun, mate. Looks exactly like him.
Yeah.
Same as Chesley Colby, same style.
Rapid.
My rugby goes to, this is a bit of a weird one, Toowoomba Grammar. Actually, coached by Scotty Gale. At the start of the season, he was telling Zach, he's like, great side. We got Chase Oates at outside centre. They've got a good South African fly half. He puts it on the toe, but he just said tough country boys that are just in it for the win. And picked up another win, 50-plus win. Their first, one of only 10 times in their 100-odd years of playing rugby they put 50 points on a side in GPS footy. They beat Grammar last, Brisbane Grammar. And they've lost to Churchy, Nudgee and TSS this year on the final play.
When's the last time they won it?
They've won it once, Zach, in 1956.
Good facts.
They've won 7 or 8.
How good's that?
But haven't won since 1956. Who's only won one? BBC. Before they won again 2 years ago, eh? Okay, that's what it was. Who cares? But at the end of the day, mate, like Scotty Gale, shout outs
Good
to
on him,
him.
Scotty.
He's
going
doing big
down
things.
He is, hey.
First real coaching job as well.
Yeah.
On you, Scotty.
Killing it, mate. He's a good kid. And apparently Chase Oates is an absolute superstar in the making, you reckon, Zach?
Cricket or rugby?
Chase Oates.
Yeah.
He was gun, man. I was involved in some Queensland under-15 thing last year, and there was some trials, and he carving up, and I was like, man, who's this kid? And they were like, yeah, he's the younger brother of Kai and BJ Oates. But man, he was awesome. Big boot, silky skills. I was like, yeah, this guy's pretty good.
Kind of like Rat. Alrighty, well, that rounds out this week's episode of the PAC Show. Will, thank you so much for joining us, brother. We wish you all the best, everything in the future, man. Round of applause, Will
Thanks,
Chambers,
mate.
everybody.
Thank you, boys.
Yes. Friends, wish I could say the same. Dos, Dallin, thanks so much, as per usual.
Hateful, spiteful bastard.
Hates it so much, and so he should. Zachy boy, thanks so much on the ones and twos as per usual. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe and share our content. Just help us grow the game that we love. In the meantime, stay safe. We'll see you next week. Ciao.